The sun was dipping low over the vast Wild West horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson as the rugged cowboy. John McGraw strode steadily by the riverside with his wife, Mary, and their young boy, Samuel, who clutched a wooden toy horse in his small hands, the sound of the water rushing beside them, filling the silence between their footsteps. They were a family bound not only by blood, but by a fierce love that had been tested through fire, famine, and the endless dust of the frontier. And this riverside walk was not just a path home, but a reminder that peace could still exist in a land carved by violence. Yet fate often waits in the bends of rivers and the shadows of forests. And on this day, as the family stepped carefully onto the rocky edge of the shallow crossing, the river seemed to come alive with a dark ripple that broke against the current. And John's sharp eyes caught the movement instantly, a chill running down his spine. For in these waters lurked beasts older than man, beasts that struck without warning. Mary gripped Samuel's hand tighter, her gaze nervous. But she trusted John's steady presence, his tall frame, his leather hat pulled low, his revolver at his side glinting in the fading light, his boots heavy against the wet stones. And yet as the river deepened halfway through the crossing, the water rose against their legs. And suddenly, without mercy, a monstrous crocodile erupted from the depths, its scales black and shining like steel, its jaws wide enough to snap a man in half, its roar a guttural growl that shook the air. And Mary screamed, clutching Samuel against her chest, while John, fearless though his heart raced, pushed them behind him, water splashing up to his waist. His instincts born from years of survival in the unforgiving West screaming that this was a fight for his family's very lives. And as the crocodile lunged, snapping its jaws with terrifying force, John drew his hunting knife in one swift motion, the blade gleaming as the beast's eyes fixed on him. And the river churned like a battlefield, waves crashing against his legs, the smell of mud and blood already thick in the air as the fight began. A man against a predator of the ancient world. And in that moment, the Wild West itself seemed to hold its breath. The river lay still after the storm of violence, the water stained faintly with the beast's blood as its lifeless body drifted downstream. But John McGraw stood panting in the shallows, his shirt torn, his arms bleeding from jagged cuts, the knife still clutched tightly in his hand as Mary rushed to his side, tears running down her cheeks, clutching. Samuel, who stared wide-eyed at his father with the kind of awe only a child can carry. For in Samuel's eyes, John was no longer just a man, but a hero carved from steel and fire. The West was never merciful. It always asked for strength. And tonight, John had answered with everything he had. But as they made their way back across the riverbank, the setting sun fading into night, John knew deep in his heart that this was only one of many battles ahead, because in the wilderness of the frontier there were always enemies, whether beasts, men, or even the land itself, that rose to test the resolve of those who dared to call it home. And yet, through every danger, his family was his reason, his compass and his anchor. Mary wrapped his arm around her shoulder to help him walk as Samuel whispered, "Pa, you're the bravest cowboy in the world." And John's tired eyes softened, for courage was not born of fearlessness but of love, and that love now shone brighter than the stars beginning to pierce the sky, guiding them home where a fire would be lit, prayers would be whispered, and a new chapter of survival would begin, because legends are not written in comfort but in blood, sweat, and sacrifice. And the story of John McGraw, the cowboy, who faced a river's monster and lived, would echo across campfires and saloons, as proof that the Wild West was not just about guns and gold, but about the unyielding heart of a man who protected what he held most dear. And as this story comes to a close, remember, dear listener, that every tale of survival, courage, and family has a lesson. And if you want more powerful stories of the Wild West, tales of danger, heroism, and hope, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like the video, and share it with those who love adventure, because together we'll keep these stories alive and ride deeper into the wild frontier of imagination. The night after the battle with the crocodile was silent, almost too silent, as if the land itself was holding its breath in respect for the struggle that had unfolded by the river. But in the Wild West, peace was always borrowed, never owned, and John McGraw knew it well. So when the coyotes howled in the distance and the embers of their campfire flickered low, he kept his revolver by his side and his eyes on the horizon, his mind restless though Mary and Samuel slept at his feet, unaware of the danger that still lingered beyond the shadows. At dawn, as the golden light poured over the plains, John saddled his horse, his heart heavy yet steady, for word had already spread in nearby settlements about the cowboy who killed the river beast, and though some praised him as a hero, others, men of greed and lawlessness, saw his strength as a challenge, and challenges in the West always drew blood. As they journeyed home, the family came across riders on the ridge, men with dark hats and eyes that gleamed with hunger, outlaws who had long terrorized travelers with no sheriff brave enough to stop them, and their leader, a scarred gunslinger named Vance Crowley, spat tobacco and sneered, "Heard you're the man who tamed the river demon. Cowboy, let's see how you fare against men." And in that moment, the tension crackled like lightning before a storm. Mary clutching Samuel tightly while John stepped forward, his shadow long and unshaken, for he knew this was the true test of courage. Not just fighting beasts of the wild, but standing unbroken against the cruelty of men. His hand hovered near his revolver, his jaw clenched, and time itself seemed to slow. As the world watched, a lone cowboy prepared to fight, not for glory but for family, for survival, and for the right to live free on a land that bowed to no one. And though danger loomed heavy in the air, one thing was certain: the legend of John McGraw was only beginning, and every step of his journey would carve deeper into the history of the untamed West. So if you want to ride further into this saga, to feel the dust of the trail and the fire of courage, then don't just listen. Subscribe to this channel, like and share, because the story isn't ending here. It's only growing stronger, and together we'll follow the cowboy into every battle, every triumph, and every corner of the Wild West where legends are born.